if you're a kid that you want to protect your mom all your life, and now the one chance is there, and then your mom just turns on you, it's literally the worst feeling. And I put the gun to my mom's face. I was gonna end my mom's life and my stepfather's life. And
Welcome to the Teen Rockstar Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about how your past does not dictate your future. And to have this conversation, I have Wally Green with me, who is a pro athlete, an entrepreneur, and who works with youth. Hello, Wally. How are you?
hey, how you doing? I'm
I'm
great.
good. I'm excited to have this conversation. Let's begin talking about your story because I think it's one that is so moving and so inspiring for teens to let them know that whatever they're going through now, it doesn't dictate what their future life can be. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your childhood, what your life was like growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up in the projects with mom and a stepfather. My mom divorced probably when I was really young. I can't remember. I don't remember my mom and dad together. So I had to be very, very young. My mom married a narcissistic abuser who used to physically and mentally abuse us on a daily basis. It wasn't only when he was angry. A lot of it was strategic. Even when he wasn't angry, he would definitely find a way to try to bring you down. So because of that, I turned to gangs and guns at a very young age, and yeah, life was tough. It was really hard. I wouldn't want to wish this on any human, for that matter.
You said that it was on a daily basis. I know how difficult criticism and how beating someone's self-esteem can affect them. Can you give us like an example of like little things that he would do to like break you down so that we can get an idea what it
Yeah.
was like?
So most times when your parents are angry at you, they may say things that they don't mean. Maybe you're a loser or something like this. He didn't have to be angry to say things. So I could come home from school, maybe, having a good day, which is very rare. And if he saw that I looked like the day went well, he would say, "How was your day?" And I would go, "It was fine." And he goes, "Well, it doesn't matter because you're going to be a failure anyway." So these are the kind of things that he did every day to try to keep your morale down.
And how did that make you feel inside?
It made me angry. It made me extremely angry. The more he did it, the more angry I got, the more violent I became.
We all know that energy doesn't dissipate. We either transform it or it turns into something else. So how did you release this energy? You said, was it through gangs? What did you do to be able to let it out?
Right. The first part was, I started to join gangs at 13 years old. Actually younger than that. But I had guns at 13. So I owned guns at 13. And I did a lot of just really crazy stuff for that age. The other side was sports. So there was a balance between the violence. There was sports, and I tried to play every sport in school because sport would numb me to what was going on at home. So I would just, no matter what sport it was, I was playing it, and I became the best at all the sports that I played, because it was something that I needed in my life as a balance to the violence.
Yes. Do you think that maybe the sports is what saved you? Because usually when teens start gangs, they get in trouble, they get a record, they end up in jail, they end up doing something. So, do you think that sports was that thing that kept you from not getting into really big trouble?
So the sports for me was another way to release the anger and release some of the I think what the sports did in the early stages was take away some of that violence that I had in me, so that situations that I got into weren't as bad as they could be. If I didn't have sports, then I probably would have been a lot more violent than I was. And situations could have ended where I would be doing life in jail. So I think what the sports did was the sports kind of didn't take away the violence, but kind of put a little balance to where I wasn't as violent
Yes.
as I should have been or as I would have been.
Tell us about a couple of events that maybe you would say were catalysts that started helping you and getting you out of the gang environment and the lifestyle that you had that you weren't happy.
Yeah, I think the most important time in my life, or should I say, the biggest catalyst point, um, was, as a kid, you see your mom getting beat up every single day, you know, um, from a guy who's not even your dad, right? You always want to protect your mom. Like this is what's in your head. It's all about protecting your mom. I gotta protect my mom. I gotta protect my mom, even when you can't. So, I had the idea of protecting my mom since I was like 6 or 7. I've always wanted to protect my mom, and I got into a lot of trouble and I got sent away for 2 years. I went to boarding school instead of doing 10 years in jail. So I went to boarding school in another totally different country where I had to do a lot of fighting there because I wasn't accepted there, right? So I wasn't accepted at home by my stepfather, of course. I wasn't accepted by my dad's wife from that side of family. And now I leave and I go to a totally different country to boarding school, and I'm not being accepted in a country where you would figure I should be accepted. And I spent a lot of time just, fighting and becoming stronger, right? I mean, at the end, it's just me becoming stronger. And while I was there, the only thing I kept thinking about was I want to protect my mom. I always thought about protecting my mom. It's the only thing that was on my head. I want to protect my mom. I want to protect my mom. And protecting my mom for me meant, ending the life of her abuser, or should I say our abuser, but I was no longer there. So technically it was still her abuser. So that's what protecting my mom meant for me. And when I came back, you know, I was no longer the same kid that left, right? Now I'm a much stronger kid, a little bit more crazier, after going, joining these kind of like military trainings and stuff. And one day my stepfather was grabbing my mom by the throat, and they were fighting, and I turned around and look, and my stepfather told me, "Hey, if you look over here, you're gonna get the same thing." And I immediately lost I just lost my mind, and ran out the house, came back with a gun because at that time, I was away. I just came back. So no weapons were in my house. They were at my friend's house next door.
Thank
So, yeah, yeah, no, really. I ran out, came back, and I was gonna end my stepfather's life. And you know, my mom picked up the phone, and my mom called the police, and she says, "Hey, you guys have to hurry. My son's trying to kill my husband. Not that my husband's strangling me because he was choking her. Not that my husband's abusing me and my son's trying to protect me. Maybe say, hey, my husband was beating me up and my son has a gun and he's trying to protect me. At least say that." But it wasn't that. It was my son's trying to kill my husband. Exact words. I just felt like my soul ripped out. If you're a kid that you want to protect your mom all your life, and now the one chance is there, and then your mom just turns on you, it's literally the worst feeling. And I put the gun to my mom's face. I was gonna end my mom's life and my stepfather's life. And all this is happening really quickly. Everything is really quick. And one side of me is saying, "Hey, do it. You should do it. You've been waiting for this time." And it's true. I have been waiting for this moment all my life. Do it right here. You should do it. And the other side is saying, hey, if you do this, whatever your stepfather said about you is going to be true. If you do this today, everything that your stepfather says is going to happen. You'll be dead. You'll be in jail, right? You'll be a failure. All these things that he said every single day will happen today. And I hated my stepfather so much, and I could never let anything he said become true. And that was more important to me than ending both their lives. So that day I walked away. And it was a hard thing to do. It's probably one of the hardest things ever. In reality, I really wanted to do it. and it took me some time to kind of deal with that. But that was definitely the biggest moment in my life. Definitely the catalyst for
Yes.
all the success that came later.
That is incredible. That sounds like a movie. And why do you think that your mom betrayed you like that? Do you think it was from fear of your father? Have you guys ever
I
had that conversation?
Man, I don't even know. I even till today, I have no idea because my mom wasn't a person that just stayed abused. Like she had a big mouth. She fought back. So it's kind of weird. I, narcissistic people and people who are very good at being narcissists. They're very good at controlling. They're very good at making you think something that's not a reality. And I think that's what happened. I think that my stepfather put her into this reality where he was the boss and everything else didn't exist and everything else was not important. And I think she kind of like fell into that reality and believed that reality. Whenever they would fight, right? Whenever they got to a brutal fight and she was bleeding, I would go and console her, hug her,
Yeah.
because she's bleeding. She's got a busted eye, right? And he would see this. And what would happen is later on that night, they would go upstairs, do what they do. They would make up, and then I'd be punished.
Yes.
So I would be punished for consoling my mom who was in pain, right? And I didn't learn this until the pandemic, right? I never knew what narcissism was. I had no idea. I didn't even heard of the word narcissist until the pandemic. And then I started saying, oh my God, damn, you know what? Yeah, none of my family has ever been to my house. Like
Yes. They
they've never been
isolate.
in, yeah, they've never been in my house. And as a kid, I never really thought of it, right? How
Yeah.
come my uncles have never been in my house? None of them have never been in, not one. And then once I started learning about narcissism, I was like, oh, that was him controlling my mom and keeping the family away. And yeah,
Exactly. Well,
so yeah,
that's the way he was able to brainwash her because he can control the environment by keeping her away. Isolation is one of the biggest things that narcissists do, just as well as gaslighting and a lot of the things that you said as well, putting family members against each other.
That narcissist wants to isolate you in order to control all the affection, all the love, all the communication, all the time, and all the effort that goes into that relationship to get that directed back at them and nowhere else. You see, as a narcissist, my goal in isolating someone is to make sure that I have complete control over that person. As a narcissist, my goal is to make sure that I have isolated that person so much that I am the sole provider of their validation. That I'm the sole provider of what they feel in love and what they feel in connectivity and what they feel of joy and happiness. Because if I can divvy that out piece by piece, if I can give a breadcrumb here and a breadcrumb there, they're going to keep coming back for more. That's why people, when they've been with a narcissist, they develop an addictive cycle. They develop an addictive feeling where they want to go back time and time and time again to someone that they know is abusing them, but they don't understand it because they think this is love, or this is my validation, or maybe they'll change, or maybe this will happen, and they keep going back for more.
Very, very toxic and destructive environment. I'm happy that you survived it because many young adults don't. So let's talk about that moment when you walked out. What was your life after that day?
yeah, I told them that you guys deserve each other because you got to remember the police are coming. This is
Yeah.
this is happening so fast, and it's me having to think quickly. But because that's where being in the gangs and living that gang life or that crazy life, you comes into play because I understand the time that's how quickly things can just turn, and I have to think really quickly. I have to make decisions very fast, just like every single day when you're watching your back. You always have to think quickly, and so I just decided that Nah, I wasn't gonna let it happen. And I told them they deserve each other, and I left and never went back. And I spent a year in the streets, just kind of like hanging out. I call it just hanging out. That's what I was doing. I was literally hanging out and doing dumb stuff, with the people that were in my gang, and just going towards where my stepfather was gonna say, dead or in jail, because now I was even more violent.
Right.
I was way more violent now because the only person I wanted to protect in my life just turned against me, so I couldn't trust anybody. And yeah, it was hard. It was definitely really, really, really difficult.
That whole year that you spent outside, were you living in friends' homes? Were you in
Uh,
the street? How were you managing?
so jumping from sometimes friend's house to friend's house, um, a lot of just hanging out in the street, like we say, breaking night.
Yeah.
Like, you stay up all night till morning and just hanging out. Um, doing a lot of crazy stuff because I was always spending a lot of time with people from my gang. So yeah, nothing, let's just say nothing good came out of that.
Okay.
Never.
And so, what happened in your life that created, I guess, like a door for where you are now?
Yeah, so I always loved sports. Like sports was the like I said, the balance from the violence. So I needed sports in my life. So I tried to play everything. And during that time I started to shoot pool. I bought a pool stick with some money that I had, a cheap one. Then I switched it later on at the store for a more expensive one without them knowing. So now I had this really kind of, to me, which was a fancy pool stick.
Right.
Like if it unscrewed and it came in two pieces in a box, that was a fancy
That was
pool
fancy.
stick.
Yeah.
That was fancy. And I thought I was good, and I would go to pool halls and shoot and try to make a little money. And I got hustled for some money. Got really upset, and I took the pool stick and I shattered it onto the. Well, I hit it down, and the pool stick shattered.
Oh,
And I got really angry because that happened, and I saw some kids playing ping pong, and ping pong was a sport that I hated. I never liked the sport. They had this sport in my high school. They were playing in the lunchroom. I used to make fun of all the kids playing it. And I used to walk by and say, look at these kids with their short shorts and a stick. Like it was just funny to me. And then, now that I'm upset, I see some people playing ping pong. And I was the kind of kid that I took out everything that happened to me, I took it on other people. Right. So no matter what it was, I could literally walk into a wall by myself, and the person who was closest to me or next to me, I was going to take it out on them. So I saw some kids playing ping pong, and it was the perfect storm. I went over there and says, "Hey, I want to get a hit." And the kid was like, "Oh, you played it?" I said, "I don't play. Just give me the paddle." So I took the paddle, and the object was to, when he hit the ball to me, I just smashed him in the face with the ball, right? And in that way, I could say my bad, and it was a mistake, right? No
right.
one can say it's not a mistake. And when I hit the ball, the paddle was at the wrong angle to hit him in the face, and the ball went on the table as a smash. And the kid was like, "Oh my God, that's great! How you did? Wow, play this?" And he told me about a ping pong club where there's like a group of people that go and play. And I said, "There's no way that there's a place that people go together and hang out and play this sport." I was like, "It's crazy." And he's like, "I'm telling you, you should go check it out." And I didn't have much to do anyway. And the athlete in me decided, let's go see. So I go down to the place he sent me. It's another pool hall, probably like three times the size of the one that I was shooting at. And I would go there. I went there and walked in. There's like pool tables everywhere, and then in the back there was a whole section of ping pong tables. I don't know, maybe like 8 ping pong tables, and people were making noise, like it was noisy, like and I was like, "What's going on?" So I go back there, and people are like standing far from the table, spinning the balls. And the thing that was the craziest about it was that everyone was black. And then I was like, well, black people play this?
Play ping
And in
pong.
my mind, I was like, wait a minute, black people don't play this. It's Asians play this. And I was like, this is crazy. And I'm seeing there's not even one Asian there. It's all black people. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So then that's what got me interested. So I started to get interested because I saw people like me
Yeah.
doing it. And I was like, whoa, man, that's cool. So all of a sudden now the sport that I hated and I made fun of, all my life, in one day became, oh, I want to play this. So I started to play. People wouldn't play with me because I wasn't good. One old guy used to beat the out of me. I think the guy was like 70. He passed away, man. And you know, that guy was a great dude, and he passed away. But he used to play with me sometimes, and used to beat me badly, like 21-2, 21-3. And I would get so angry because I play every sport: basketball, football, tennis, volleyball, and this guy is like destroying me on the table. And so I used to get so angry, and that anger made me want to play more. And then one day I met a guy who came in randomly, and he says, "Hey, do you have a partner?" And I was like, "No." And by this time I could hit. Like, I learned really fast. I mean, the basics I could get basics immediately. And he was like, "Yeah, I just need a partner to hit around with. I come into town, like maybe twice a week. If we can play twice a week, I'll pay you $20." And I was like, "Whoa, $20." Right. I mean, I remember at the time, I'm like kind of living in the streets. I have no money.
Right.
And this guy was to give me $20 just to hit ping pong balls. Hey.
But you would have done
So I would play with
anyways.
this. Yeah, like, yeah. So I was like, okay. So I would play with this guy, and he'd pay me. And there was a point where we started to get a little closer, because I'm playing with this guy 2 times a week, and it's someone that's very different. It's out of what I'm used to, out of the kind of people that I hang out with, out of different than the kind of people that I spend time talking to, right? So it's like a
Yeah.
different kind of like a father figure, but not
Right.
really, but something like that. And I became comfortable with him. We used to talk, and I used to mention about my life and the things that I went through, that I was going through. But for him, it was more like a TV show, right? Because if you don't know anyone who's living that life, or been in that life, it's very difficult to understand how it's possible, right? It's very difficult to understand. When I hear the news and it says, "Oh, 10-year-old killed, 10-year-old kid shoots, kills his 6-year-old brother,"
Yeah.
right? That doesn't shock me. I don't go, "Oh my God, how is that possible?" It doesn't shock me. I go, "Damn, man, another kid."
Lost.
Like, for me, that's normal. Like, it's something that's normal to me. But if you don't, like I said, if you don't know anyone in that life, if you don't live that life, it's impossible to understand how a 10-year-old kid has a gun, right? But these things happen every single day, all over. I mean, it's something that's normal. And it became a reality when I went to the club one day and a 22 fell out of my bag, and he saw it. And now everything that I've been talking about had made sense. And he gave me this look, and I gave him another look, and I was like, I gotta go because I don't know if he's gonna call police.
Right.
I don't know what he's gonna do. And I left. And I left with the idea of that I was never gonna see him again. Right. But he called me 2 days later and says, "Hey, are we still playing?" And I
Mm.
was like, "Okay, yeah, it's $20. I'm not gonna say no $20." So I go meet him, and he says, "Hey, I want to invite you to my home." Right? I'm like, "Your home?" He's like, "Yeah, I want you to meet my family." And I thought that was kind of weird. Um, Given that you just seen a gun fall in my bag, now you want to bring me to your family. Like, okay, whatever. He's paying me $20. You know, we can do this. And I'm not worried about anything, right? So he has a house which is like 2.5 hours. It was 2.5 hours away from New York, near Hunter Mountain, and we drive out there, and we're talking along the way, about the family and stuff that I was going through. And then I get to his place, and I meet his family. His nice family, kids, wife. You know, big house in the middle of the woods. Um, People, they're all sitting down. When it's time for dinner, everyone sits down, eats. "Oh, thank you, no, thank you, yes, please." The food spread on the table. And for me, it was like being in the Matrix, and I was like, "What the hell is going on? Like, what is this? And why is he even bringing me here to see this?" Like, in my mind, I'm like, "Were you trying to show off? You're like,
Right.
like, what, what's the purpose of all this?" So I'm starting to get a little upset, right? Because I don't have that. I never had that. And he tells me, he says, "Hey, listen, I really want to help you, so I'm gonna pay for you to go to Germany because I see you like ping pong a lot. I have a connection in Germany, and I'm gonna pay for you to go to Germany, right?" And for me, I was like, the first thing I thought about Germany was Hitler, and I was like, "Why is this dude trying to send me to Germany?" That's because that was in my mind. I was like, "What? What?" Like,
Out of
someone
all
tells you I'm gonna
places.
crazy. Like it doesn't even make sense talking about going to Germany. And he says that, and I'm like, okay, because I always knew. So for me, I always knew that there was a better way. So some people don't get that opportunity or that idea in their head to understand that there's a better way.
Yeah.
But I always knew there was a better way. I just chose to do what I was doing because I had to do it. But I knew in the back of my head that this is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to be doing. And so when he said that, I took the opportunity, not knowing what was going on in Germany, but I still say, yeah, of course. And that was, the first step of getting me out, away from where I was, out of that circle, away from that abuse, sending me to a totally different country.
And so you took the opportunity and you went to Germany.
Yeah.
And so how was that? What happened in
Um,
Germany?
in the beginning, it was weird, right? Because yeah, remember, just because I went to Germany doesn't mean all the violence left out of me. Right? I was
Exactly.
still the same violent kid, but now in Germany. And when I was in Germany, I was living in a sports school. So all the kids there are good, are at the highest level in that city for whatever sport they play. So they don't live at home; they all live in this school. And
Yeah.
then you have some people from other countries, like me, who also come to live in this school, right? And because I was American and from New York, everybody was like, "Oh my God, you're from America? Oh, you're from New York? Oh man, we love America. Oh, we love New York. Oh man, you're so cool." And blah blah blah. And for me, it was I didn't know how to react to that, right?
Right.
Because where I'm from, people start saying, "Yo, yeah, man, you're really cool. Yo, you're nah, there's just there's something going on." And
Like
I
an
didn't know how to
ulterior,
react.
you thought that there was like an ulterior motive because, of course,
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
coming from a child that doesn't trust, that can't trust people.
Yeah.
So this has to be like completely alien to you.
Yeah, and these people are all in my face, like, "Oh, you're the coolest. Oh, they want to shake your hand. Like they want to be next to you." And it's just, and so I didn't know how to react. So I got confused because, it's hard to, like I say, always say this, it's hard to punch someone in the face when they're telling you how much they love you, right? It's about whether you still have your humanity or if you lost it. And some people lose their humanity.
Yes.
And it's sad to say for those, it's no hope. Like once you lose your humanity, these are like I told you before, these are the kind of people that could kill your child and sit with you and have lunch. Like nothing happened. So I wasn't that person. I never lost my humanity. So it's very difficult for me to be angry at the person who's saying you're the best in the world. We love you. And so I just got confused. For a while, I was very confused. There's a saying, it's called killing you with kindness, right? I was being killed literally with kindness. Like there was just kindness on top of kindness. And eventually, you know, I thought about it again. One of those scenarios where, like what happened with my mom and stepfather when I made the decision to not end their lives. Something comes to me and says, "Hey, why are you upset? Why are you angry? Right? You're not being abused. You're not. You're not even in the same country anymore. Like, why are you angry? You're in a totally different place where people genuinely like you, and they only like you because of you, because you're you, not because you can pick up your gun for them or do something for them. They like you because of you, just for you. Why are you angry?" And then, I kind of figured that out, and I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. What am I being angry for? Right?
Right.
No one's gonna piss me off. So I can't get anything out of this. And so eventually I started to just kind of like, open up a little bit and be a little bit more friendly, made some friends, learned some German words. Um, and that was like the first start of the change in my mindset. you know,
Yeah.
to be more open and be more understanding and try to understand that not everybody's out to get you. Kind of,
Exactly.
yeah,
Basically, you were changing your patterns, right? So you
yeah,
developed these patterns just out of because you had to, you were in a survival mode. So now you're getting out of survival mode, but it's so interesting because your body is still in survival mode. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's why hearing your story is so interesting because it's like you consciously understand that you shouldn't be upset, but your body and the chemicals that your body's been producing, your body's been living off adrenaline and cortisol
yeah,
for so many years. And now you're in Germany with happy people and you're supposed to be happy from
yeah,
one day to the next. Your body's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like,
yeah,
get out of
yeah.
here. So that's why it's so interesting so that, young people understand that even anger, even when you consciously want to get out of it, it's going to take you time and your body's going to actually like fight you. And that's
Yes,
where you have to ask the questions like you did. You started developing that self-awareness and actually questioning that little voice in the mind, like saying, "Hey, but wait, what's going on?" So then, what started happening now that you're consciously making those changes? You're in Germany. What positive outcomes are starting to come out now?
yeah. So now I start making friends. I start learning German words, funny words, of course, sometimes the bad ones, and you know, practice is becoming more productive because now I'm kind of like trusting the process of what's going on. I'm starting to get really good. Then I come back to America, after, and then I got a really big break. Actually, pretty shortly after I come back. I don't remember if it was like a year or two later, but I got a really big break where the company Rockstar Games, which makes Grand Theft Auto, was at a tournament, and I went to go play this. Now I've already been playing tournaments, and there was like this local, really local kind of underground ping pong tournament that was in Chinatown in New York City. And I went to go play this tournament and I'm playing against some kid who I guess he was visiting from China. He was really good. And as we're playing, he's making, all these crazy noises like, yeah, yeah. And then I was like, well, so I said, okay. So, I start bringing the ghetto into the sport. And I'm like, that's it, baby. Come on, we sending them back. Let's go talking trash. We're going. Me and this kid, we're going back and forth, and it was such a spectacle. Like it was pure entertainment, right? And after the match, some people walk up to me and they says, "Hey, do you know Rockstar Games?" I was like, "Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. I play all the time." And they go, "Oh, well, we're looking to make the world's first table tennis game." And I was like, "What?" Because it was weird because Rockstar Games is known for all violent games.
Yes.
They don't make a game that's not violent. So it's kind of weird. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm down. Like I was 100% down. Rockstar Games, I'm down. And so I made this video game with them called Rockstar Presents Table Tennis. It's the world's first realistic ping pong game. And it actually beat every sports game. It beat
Wow.
all of them. It beat Madden, it beat NBA Live as the best sports game of the year because there was so much publicity behind this game because no one could believe that Rockstar was making a ping pong game,
Right.
right? So talk of the video game world all over the world. Like what? Russell's making a ping pong game? Like are the paddles gonna like shoot off and cut people's heads off? Like,
Right.
no one knew. And then some people were like, no, it's a joke. They got something new coming out. They're just using this. So it was like the biggest talk in the video game world. And then I thought, man, you know what? This this is huge. Let me use this opportunity to get them to sponsor me so
Exactly.
that I can play pro, right? Because this is some years now, and I wanted to play pro, and to play pro is very expensive, right? Because you have to pay for these tournaments,
Exactly.
right? You're going to travel all over the world. It's very expensive. So I thought, you know what? I made this game with them. Let me see if I can get them to sponsor me. So I spoke to the director uh, that was responsible for the game. He says, "Hey, listen, do you think you guys can sponsor me? I would like to play pro." right? And they say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea because we can use that as promotion for the game as well,
Exactly.
right? So I had, as a matter of fact, hey, can you hold on one sec?
Sure.
I'm gonna get something, and it's funny because I've never showed any. Actually, I've never shown anyone this. This is funny because this is very old, and the fact I still have this is nuts. Because so I had a whole bunch of things that were branded by Rockstar Games. Of
Yeah.
course, my uniform had Rockstar Games logo. All of them I gave away already. Like, because usually when I travel, when I would travel to different countries, um, people want your shirt, right?
Right.
We always exchange shirts. I would give away my shirts, sometimes my shorts if they want the shorts.
Wow.
So I have no more shirts, but this is the last thing left. Look at this. This is
Oh,
crazy.
wow. That is
Rockstar
so
Games.
cool. Well, you got to keep
Yeah.
that. That's a great memory.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna keep this. I mean, this is so old. I think that was like 2000, 2007. And this is the actual video game.
Nice.
See? Rockstar presents table tennis.
Awesome.
World's first table tennis game. So, so they agreed to sponsor me. They pay me some really insane money to play ping pong. So now I'm traveling the world playing like 15 countries a year,
Amazing.
13 to 15 countries a year on Rockstar money.
Amazing.
Right now I have money, so I can go play. So, I just start playing all over the world and, just trying to figure out myself in this sport.
Exactly. So my question to you now is, what work do you do with teens? And then we'll talk about advice. Like, how is it that now you try to, I guess, give back, knowing so many kids are lost?
I do a lot of work with kids who suffer severe PTSD from family trauma because I was definitely one of those kids. I never had the PTSD part of it. So, I like to spend time with these kids and help them and show them that there's a different way because when I was a kid, no one showed me there was a different way. If you would have asked me about ping pong, I probably would have pistol whipped you. Like for real. Like I'd be like, what? Are you crazy? So no one never showed me a different one. No one never told me that, oh, there's A, B, and C out there. Right. So when you grow up in this environment, you only know what you see. And what you see is a very narrow, straight line, and you see nothing else. There are no peripherals. It's just this. And so I like to speak a lot to kids. I do a lot of talks, even at the Boys and Girls Clubs, right, where the kids need it, schools, talk about gun violence, talk about bullying and all this other things so that kids can just, understand that there's always another way. Is just for you to find it. And
Exactly.
sometimes it finds you. If
Exactly.
you ask me about ping pong, I would be like, there's no way. Right? So, and the thing is, when it does find you, you have to be willing and open to accept it, right? Because some people say, "Oh man, you were lucky because someone helped you and they paid for you to go to Germany." And I say that's not luck. 99.9% of people in my shoes would have said, "Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna leave and go to Germany. Like it doesn't even make sense." So I wasn't lucky, right? I was just smart enough to understand that there could be possibly something better than what I was going through, and I took a risk,
Yes.
right? And that's what kids need to know. There's always something better out there. There's always another way, and you have to be willing to take that risk and see for yourself.
That's it. I think it's pushing past that fear. And also, you weren't afraid of taking chances. And that's something that young people have to be willing to do. It's being able to, like you said, the opportunities came to me because you stayed open. And it's just being
Right.
able to stay open because if not, whatever you focus on is whatever you're going to get. So it's
Exactly.
being able to put yourself in situations where opportunity can spring. And
Yes.
you
Yes.
managed to find a way to do that because if you would have stayed just with gangs and would have maybe not played sports, if you wouldn't have maybe put yourself in these bar environments, gone to play pool, done something extracurricular, done something on your own, these opportunities would have come to you. So You know, when people say that you're lucky, I don't believe in luck, I believe in opportunity. And there are no coincidences. It's putting yourself in a place where you are going to have that opportunity.
Yes. And being ready to accept that opportunity as it comes along.
Absolutely. And so, what do you think is the biggest thing going on with youth that concerns you and that needs to be addressed?
When I say this, the parents are going to be upset. I remember last time I said this, they're like, yeah. But honestly, I think parents need to really listen more, not just hear. I think now they're just hearing, but they're not listening. You know, I like to use an example like this, especially, in the kind of environment I grew up, or most people like me grew up, let's say, mom makes dinner, right? But the young kid says, "Oh, I don't want to eat that. I don't want that." And then they get angry and it says, "No, I made it, you're gonna eat it. If you don't eat it, you don't eat anything." But he
Right.
didn't ask the question, why? What's wrong with it? It does not taste good. Does it make you feel sick? Does it give you a stomach ache? Right? And the kid, out of fear, is not going to come out and say, "Oh, it gives me a stomach ache." He's going to just say, "I don't want that." Right? So I think parents need to really deeply, like, talk to their kids, like talk to them, like have a I think parents, um because kids are kids, I think they treat them like kids,
Exactly.
and they treat them like kids in a bad way, where they don't really have intelligent conversations with them. Like, you can have a 4-year old and have a conversation
Absolutely.
about how his day was, how was school, what did you do in school, were your classmates friendly? Like, you can have conversations with little kids, and I think more parents need to have just conversations. Just talk to them like an adult. Like, what's going on in your life at 4 years old? I want to know, and you'll be surprised what even a 4-year old will come up with and what they'll tell you.
Absolutely. And I believe asking questions is so important and not the usual questions. You know, the average time that an American parent spends with their child is 15 minutes a day. And we already know the
Really?
questions. 15 minutes a day is the average. And we already know the questions. Did you do your homework? And then they wonder when something happens why either their child doesn't go to them or why their
Right.
child is acting rebellious, won't talk to them, won't open up. And it's because it's something that, it's like a seed you planted and you don't get a tree and fruit immediately. There's an entire process. And I feel like we live in a world where everything's like this and we don't want the process, we want the quick fix. But
Right. Right.
unfortunately, when it comes to parenting, there is no quick fix. In order for the moment when the emergency comes, for things to go as well as possible, there needs to be work done before that. And
Yes.
so it's like you said, we have to have the questions. Going into asking open-ended questions like, what happened today? And so how'd you feel about that? Because if you ask how school, they're going to tell you about school, but they're
Right.
not going to tell you about them. And what you want to know is about them. So a lot of parents find themselves, a, a lot of single moms too, find themselves having 2 and 3 jobs. So they don't
Right.
have a lot of time. But, that's why I always tell parents to make sure that that little time you have is quality time. What is it that you tell kids to motivate them?
Well, for me, I always like to give them the option to make a decision. I am not one to say, "Don't do this, don't do that." I like, for example, if I've met a kid or talking to a kid who's part of a gang, I will never say, "Oh, you shouldn't be in a gang. Oh, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that," because I did it. So I cannot tell someone that you shouldn't be doing it. But what I will tell them is that you need to understand the decisions that you make and how these decisions are going to affect you in the future. If you feel that what you're doing is something that's positive and it will affect your life positively in the future, then you make that decision. But if you feel that what you're doing is negative and it will affect your future negatively, then you make that decision. So I think giving kids the option of understanding what they're doing, what are the consequences, how can it affect me. I think that's more important than saying, don't do that, don't do this, don't do this. Because I tell you something, if that guy, one time, if he would have just said, oh, why were you carrying a gun? He never mentioned about this gun. He never brought it up. If he would have one time, just one time, even look like he was thinking about this, I would have never talked to him again. I would have completely cut myself off, $20 or not, away from him completely. Right? The fact that he never ever mentioned it, almost like it didn't happen, is why this all worked out.
Exactly. Well, you know what he didn't do? He didn't judge you. And I think
Right.
that's the most important thing. He didn't judge you. He stayed focused on the good aspects of you because that's really important. He kept on appealing to that part of Wally. He didn't,
Right.
you would tell him your problems, but he wouldn't treat you as the gang member. He treated you as Wally, the kid who was playing ping pong with him, the kid who had
Yeah.
potential, the kid who was spending time with him. And he talked to Wally. And so what did he get back? I always say that too, that sometimes, when we judge someone, we automatically already change the dynamics of the relationship. So it's not going to be a balanced, a positive conversation because judgment is not a positive thing. So then if
Right.
you're automatically judging your kid, you did this or why did you do this? Understand that shame is a really big thing that we all feel. So when you make someone feel shame, automatically a wall comes up and communication can't be had.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And what you're telling young people is something that's really good because you're making them think. And that's something that I always encourage parents to do. Instead of telling your kid, no, you shouldn't vape, how about, sitting down and talking to them? Okay, so you like vaping. Let's do some research on vaping. All right.
Right.
We're going to research the good things and we're going to research the bad things. And then we're going to outweigh them. And then let's see if you should vape or you should not vape, if it's good for you, if it's bad for you. Then that changes the dynamics of the relationship as well. I always like to ask this to guests. If you could talk to your teen self right now, what would that thing be?
I think probably the main message I would say is it comes in two parts. The first part is if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. And more importantly, if if help is offered to you, don't be afraid to accept the help because you never know where that help might lead you.
Asking for help is really important. A lot of times we're afraid. It starts from school. Like, think about it when your teacher explained something to you and you didn't understand, but you were too embarrassed to say, I don't
Right.
understand. But there's no such thing as a stupid question. And there is no shame or no embarrassment in asking for help. And actually, you would be surprised how much people really do want to help. And you're depriving yourself of the opportunity of someone actually helping you. So thank you so much, Wally, for this amazing interview and for sharing your story and for doing all the work that you do for teens.
Appreciate you.
And I want to thank all of our listeners for listening to this podcast episode. And we're going to be leaving all of Wally's information so that you could follow Wally on social media, or if you want to reach out to him, or you're an education group or organization and would like Wally to come speak in engagements as well. We wish you guys a fantastic rest of your week. Hey rock stars, that wraps up another electrifying episode of the Teen Rockstar Entrepreneur Podcast, where we dive deep into the journeys of incredible minds shaping their destinies in the world of business, solo, and entrepreneurship. Now, before you hit that pause button, I've got some exciting news for you. If you're ready to take control of your life, eliminate anxiety, insecurity, and fear, then look no further. Head over to the teenrockstarentrepreneur.org website to grab your very own copy of the comprehensive 140-page Designer Life Blueprint Teen Workbook. This workbook isn't just a guide, it's a roadmap to unleash unleashing your true potential. Packed with insights, exercises, and strategies, it's your key to crafting the life you've always dreamed of. A life where challenges are conquered, dreams are pursued, and happiness is your companion. So what are you waiting for? Visit teenrockstarentrepreneur.org and kickstart your journey to a life of purpose, passion, and success. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and remember, your journey is just getting started. Until next time, keep rocking and rolling towards your dreams.